Yo, what's good though? Soul here and welcome back to my story mode. So before we get started here, the most important thing is simply the fact that there will be a couple of light spoilers. We're going to be talking a tidbit about the story, and it's very early story and kind of obvious. So, you know, you would only not know this if you haven't even seen or played the first like 15 minutes of the game. But I'm going to put the spoiler warning here just in case you haven't seen anything of Pokemon Legends. So just be weary, I guess. So within our little realm of Pokemon Legends Arceus, somebody decided to do some digging into the code. And within the code, and lots of searching apparently, they came across this little room. As of this recording at this moment, I do not know who found it, but I will be finding them and putting their respective links in the description for proper credit. Make sure you go follow them on Twitter or whatever you want to do if you want to get more leaks and breakdowns and stuff like this. Anyway, the moment they found it, they posted it on Twitter, it kind of went everywhere, and nobody understands what this room is about. Now, obviously, we all have our own ideas, and me personally, I have 3 very different theories about what this room is. When you look around the room and take a look at it, it's obviously a very modern day room. There's lots of electronics, there's a beanbag in the middle of the room, there's posters and stuff on the wall, there's a picture of Gastrodon just chilling there, there's a Nintendo Switch on the table. This is a modern day room. So if you have played or even looked at an ounce of Pokemon Legends, you can tell right away that this room does not fit within this era. The most electronic thing that this era of Pokemon had was working lights, and that is pretty much it. So if you were anything like me, you probably sat there and pondered for a second, what the hell was this doing in this game's code? Now, I'm no game developer or anything, but I do have a couple of different ideas as to why this room popped up at all, and I felt that since this could be important to the future of the game as well as the possible next entry to the series, I thought, hey, why not gab a little bit about it here? Just a couple of fun little ideas to put in your head while waiting for the review, cause why not? So why don't we start hopping into what this room could possibly mean? So let's dive right in with my very first theory. This was meant to be used for the opening sequence. At the very beginning of the game, it's very obvious that we were taken away from wherever we were. We were wearing modern clothing. We even had a cell phone that kind of floated away from us. The human that we are in control of either came from a different time period or a different timeline. Now, when we first talk to the professor, we do have the option to choose whether or not our player knows anything about Pokemon, but that may just be a tutorial thing. Every time that I've played, I've always answered that I knew what Pokemon was, but we already know for a fact that this character is very knowledgeable on Pokemon. It's so obvious that this room belongs to the player character, and we already know that this character knows about Pokemon because of the Gastrodon painting that they have in their room. So the most obvious conclusion is the fact that this is the very room that the player character got ripped away from when Arceus decided to send them back in time. I wouldn't put it past them to have started designing this house as a tutorial area for the player. There is a very real chance that we were meant to start off right here in this very room. I suspect it was something like we were expected to start off here, get a handle on the controls in this very room, meet the character's mom by going outside or downstairs if there were supposed to be any, because it is kind of high up, so there's a very real chance that they were designing some kind of downstairs area maybe. Who knows? And then possibly after spending a good like 15 minutes in the house or something like that, we would end up going to sleep, and that's when the player character would wake up and realize that they're getting isekai'd. Oh, and in non-weeb, isekai just simply means getting sent to another world. But anyhow, I felt like this was a reasonable conclusion to come to, and it would also make sense if they decided to scrap this part entirely. They most likely just figured, hey, the player is literally never coming back to this area, there is no reason to keep it this way. And quite frankly, I'm inclined to agree. By removing this section of the game, they have created an entire mystery as to who the player character is and exactly where they got ripped away from. Okay, being real, obviously it's Pokemon, so we know already who the player character is. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day, but it's still better than the alternative of keeping an unnecessary tutorial area. So that just about does it for Theory 1. Why don't we go on to Theory 2, which is actually kind of my favorite. Pokemon Legends was starting off to be a different game entirely. Now think about this with me for a second. We've already come to the conclusion that this room would obviously belong to the player character. And if there's one thing that we know about the player character in literally every single Pokemon game up to this point, besides Legends, is the fact that we have always started off in their bedroom. This room has pretty much every single thing that you would think that the starting room would have. The PC that you would always grab your very first potion from. The most recent Nintendo console, which I now realize is meta as hell, but it's always present. And when you look at the footage, again, you realize that this room is on the second floor. I don't know if y'all have realized this, but I literally cannot think of one time in one Pokemon game where we have not started on the second story of the house. Now that right there gives me two very wild ideas, and I'm gonna need you to hear me out for a second. Now the first one is a little bit of a stretch, which is why I'm getting it out of the way first. However, it is very possible that Pokemon Legends was meant to be the start of a brand new generation. Now again, I am no form of tech whiz, and I am for sure not any form of developer, so I have no idea what engine Pokemon Legends is using. It could very well be an updated version of whatever they were using for Pokemon Sword and Shield. I could be wrong, but it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, they had something new to play around with. I imagine that this room is the very first thing that they developed. Or, you know, at the very least, maybe the first tangible area that the player can access. It was probably during the development of this room that they took a step back and they were like, wait a minute, we should probably play around with this new engine a little bit more before making the next big step with Pokemon. Not to say that Legends isn't a very big step, however, Generation 9 is a leap off of a bridge in comparison. So in the midst of this development, they probably decided it would be a lot smarter for them to play around with this new engine, these new mechanics, and this new big world in something that's a lot less demanding than the new generation of Pokemon. That's going to take a lot of new designs, a lot of new characters, and a lot of new story. And don't even get me started on a new region, bro. That's crazy. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and move on to my second idea, which frankly is a lot more likely. Hear me out. Legends was originally what the 4th gen remakes were gonna look like. The fact that we're set in the Hisui region, which is meant to be the OG version of Sinnoh, tells me pretty much everything I need to know there. Also, when you look at the design of the room, it was very obviously based on the room that you start off in Diamond and Pearl. We have that same little desk that sits in the far left corner with the blue laptop. We have the pencils and stuff. We have the window that sits right next to the TV that's open with those exact same curtains and has the clock right above it. It even has that little framed picture where the stairs would normally be. It is literally supposed to be that room. So when designing this room, they most likely figured, okay, there is no way in hell that with what we want to do, we can just break the Sinnoh region apart to make room for all of these new mechanics and ideas. So we kind of have to do something different. So most likely before they got too far in redesigning the Sinnoh region, they figured, why don't we make something completely different while also setting it in the quote-unquote Sinnoh region while we have somebody else take care of the remakes, so we have time to focus on what we have here. So instead of redesigning Sinnoh with this possibly new engine and new mechanics, they decided to play it safe, have ILCA remake the original games one-to-one to keep it faithful so that we had the OG stuff and we had this new thing, I guess. Obviously, I don't work in the boardroom or anything like that, so I have no idea how that last meeting went down before they decided to split this into its own game, but I'm sure that Pokemon Company was all over it. Getting 2 brand new games within the span of 2 months, that is big bucks for them, so it kind of makes sense as to how it happened this way. However, even from the developer standpoint, logically it makes the most sense. If we had these exact mechanics in Sinnoh-based remakes, there's no way that they would work comfortably. Everything would be way too tight. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, while I'm sure we would have loved something this brand new for the remakes, and it probably would have been the strongest, it wouldn't have worked. That wasn't the way that Sinnoh was built, which is why they had to take this new direction. And quite frankly, I think it was the safest bet they could have made. Hisui was most likely the name of the region that we were gonna get, but they decided to turn it into Old Sinnoh because time constraints, most likely. I have no idea, but that's pretty much my best guess. So that just about wraps it up for theory number 2. We're gonna go ahead and dive right into my final theory, which after talking about that previous one kind of feels like a stretch, but I'll just throw it out there anyway just for the sake of talking. There might be a possible DLC in the works that might help explain the main character's origins a little bit more. Again, we are forgetting the crucial fact that Pokemon is usually under time constraints, so it's also very possible that this house was starting to be developed after Pokemon Legends was done for the most part, and they didn't have enough time to finish creating whatever they were going to create. So instead of just removing it, they put it to the farthest corners of the world or something. Again, I have no idea how coding works. I've done it like one time. I'm not a pro at this. So if you know, you know. But the long and short of it is, it's very possible that this DLC may give us even more of an ending than we expected, and we maybe get sent back to the room that we're from that time period or timeline. I don't know. This last one is definitely a stretch, but it's something. So that just about wraps it up for all of my ideas and theories on what this room could mean for Pokemon Legends Arceus. Again, that last theory was a tidbit of a stretch because whatever DLC we get, we will most likely have it in the era that Pokemon Legends takes place within currently. So if I were you, I would do myself a favor and not really hold out any hope on seeing that room ever again in the actual game. It's not impossible, but I really do think that it's unlikely. I really truly do not think that any of us were expected to see that room, but they decided to leave it in instead of getting rid of it. Is that like a hard thing to do? If they remove that room, would that break something else or something? I don't understand why it's there at all, but whatever. It was made, it's there. It looks interesting, but that's all it is. It's just the room. Anyhow, I thought that this could possibly mean a lot for the next main game in the series. Like most of us were saying, this was most likely just like a little bit of a test engine to see how everything would work and to see if things would run smoothly enough. So I think that it's very likely that the room or something similar will be visiting us probably sometime down the line. So any hoodle doodle, that just about does it for this video. In all honesty, when I really think about it, my little second theory there was most likely already proven because I didn't realize that this had been found like over a week ago or anything like that. This is complete new news to me, but it is what it is. I haven't seen any other videos on it, but after I post this one, I'll probably look around and see what other people found or something like that. I don't know. I'll play around with it, but I'm passing it on to you guys. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that the room is still relevant? Do you think that it's not relevant? Do you expect to see it in the future? No. Do you think that this room was extremely important, that it was meant to be the remakes or the new generation? Let me know everything that you guys think in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always down there with you guys. But with that, I'm gonna go ahead and skedaddle on out of here because it do seem to be skedaddle o'clock. So I'm gonna go ahead and do just that. I would like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. But I'm gonna leave it at that. Thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor, taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!